My fans, I have arrived. Me too.
Melt in your mouth.
They look so cheery.
You're an M&M. There's no point in wondering where your pockets are.
Tasting smooth, creamy milk. Chocolate center.
You're an M&M. It's all right. There's no sense in wondering where your pockets are.
Milk chocolate melts in your mouth.
Don't worry, they say hi.
Solid milk chocolate.
M&M's.
I love being on TV when you're an M&M. Don't worry, it's all right.
Solid milk chocolate.
M&M's.
Don't worry,
Get in the bowl.
The milk chocolate melts in your mouth.
do you think
Bite-sized candies. Milk chocolate.
Do you think
Bite-sized candies. Creamy milk. Yeah. Milk chocolate.
Do you think
Bite-sized candies. I hope no one. Almond chocolate.
Do you think
Bite-sized candies. Chocolate center. Milk chocolate.
you're an M&M?
No one wrong.
There's no point in wondering where your pockets are.
Only M&M's candies.
You're an M&M. It's all right. There's no sense in wondering where your ear holes are.
Milk chocolate melts in your mouth.
So it's that kind of party. Dark chocolate, darker than they seem. So it's that kind of party. When you're an M&M. 13 more hours. Oh no.
Solid milk chocolate.
Aye. 13 more hours. Oh no.
Milk chocolate melts in your mouth.
Do you think
Bite-sized candies. Milk chocolate.
rock the boat?
Bite-sized candies. Creamy milk. Chocolate. Milk chocolate.
Do you think
Bite-sized candies.
M&M?
Almond chocolate.
Do you think
Bite-sized candies. Chocolate center.
you're an M&M?
Milk chocolate melts in your mouth.
Must I have
Milk chocolate melts in your mouth.
Creamy milk. Chocolate. Milk chocolate.
Milk chocolate melts in your mouth.
Must I have
Milk chocolate melts in your mouth.
They say hi. When you're an M&M.
All the M&M's you could want. With peanuts or plain.
Might wonder. Might wonder. You're an M&M. 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 You're an M&M.
Solid milk chocolate.
Milk chocolate.
Inside.
Bite-sized can. Chocolate center.
Inside. Solid milk chocolate.
Milk chocolate.
Inside.
Bite-sized can. Chocolate center.
Inside.
The M&M's can only for you M's.
Chocolate. Inside.
The M&M's can bite-sized candies. M's.
Chocolate. Inside.
The M&M's can only for you M's.
Chocolate. Inside.
The M&M's can.
Inside.
I'd say that's a wrap.
Transmitting live from the Asylum Studios, deep in the bowels of Southwest Texas. It's the Joe Rooz Show. The show where we talk about anything and everything. Where nothing is sacred, nothing is watered down, and nothing is PC.
Alrighty, hey folks, this is Joe Rooz, and it is great to be with you once again as we are transmitting live tonight at the Asylum Studios, broadcasting from the Pimple on the backside of Texas, the beautiful city of Eagle Pass. And of course, as always, doing the very best we can to bring you the best quality talk radio we could muster without all the bluster. Welcome to the Joe Rooz Show. All right. Hey, folks, I hope you guys had a good day. Today was an interesting day, on my end at least. The usual tech gremlins struck often and early, but we got them taken care of, and we are ready to roll tonight. Hope you guys were able to catch the show last night. We had a really good show last night. We had Tara Hodgson, the young adult author, in the first hour. Second hour, we had Josh Fior from the financial sector talking about the markets and trends and swing trading and all that really interesting stuff. And as a matter of fact, spoke to Josh this afternoon, and we're already working on a future collaboration. So there's going to be something coming down the road with that. So I hope you guys are ready for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to getting into that as well. It'll be kind of in the same vein, I think, as our resident crypto psychic every other Saturday, but we're going to be doing it weeknights. So just stay tuned. Got a lot of good stuff coming here for you. All right, so folks, listen. We have a very, very interesting show for you tonight. Very interesting indeed. This is the only show you're ever going to come across, I think, anyway, at least that will promote it in this way, is we actually have a guy from the future who's going to be here tonight to talk about all the things that we're missing out on that haven't happened yet. So, and you think I'm kidding, I'm serious. So it's going to be really interesting, so you might want to stay tuned for this. It's going to be very, very interesting. No, he's not crazy either. Spoke to him before the show. He seems pretty stable. So it's going to be kind of fun. We're going to have lots of stuff talked about. So without any further ado, I want to get into our housekeeping stuff, and then we'll bring in our future man. All right? Folks, don't forget, this is a live show weeknights, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time here in this time period. So make sure you check us out here. Make sure you also like, subscribe, and share the show with your friends, your family, and your followers. That helps with the algorithm, helps us get found, helps us get seen, helps us get heard, and we can't really do that without you. So thank you. Appreciate it for all the folks who have been doing it. We have seen our numbers increasing as you guys have been sharing the show out there, so we really do thank you for it. Appreciate it immensely. And please continue to do so. Please continue to share it with everybody you possibly can. Put it up in your social media. Share it while you're watching it. If you're watching it on Facebook or Instagram or Twix or whatever you want to call it these days, share it. Let people know. Let people know we're here. All right. And let's talk about our sponsor for tonight. Well, our sponsor for every night is podhome.fm. Podhome.fm is the most modern and easy-to-use podcast hosting platform you're going to find out there. Podhome has been our host audio platform for about 3 years now, and it just keeps getting better and better and better, so you need to check them out. Podhome can help you publish your episodes, enhance your audio, automatically generate chapters, titles, transcripts, show notes, chapter art, episode art, cover art, all that great stuff. And you can even podcast live, which is exactly what we're doing. You know, not only are we doing a video stream, but we're also broadcasting our show live across all of the modern podcast apps like Podhome's native app, also Podverse and Podcast Guru and Fountain.fm and all those great modern Podcast 2.0 apps which you can check out and listen to the show live. We also have our media player, which we got the code from Podhome. That's on our website, so you can go to our website. You can listen to it live on the website. Also use it as an archive player. And you know something? Maybe you're just getting started out in podcasting. Maybe you don't have a website yet. Podhome will give you one. That's it. Podhome will give you one. Everything that you need in one affordable subscription of $15.99 a month. That's $15.99 a month. Folks, I'm telling you, you're not going to get it a better price anywhere. I've used other platforms, and I paid double, triple what I'm paying with Podhome, and I got infinitely less than what I'm getting with Podhome. So check them out. Podhome.fm. That's podhome.fm, $15.99 a month. And if you sign up today, you get 30 days free. So check it out, podhome.fm. All right. Also, if you would, please don't forget to head over to our website, joerooz.com, joerooz.com. And when you get over there, open up that contact form and send us over a message. Let us know whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind, any questions, comments, cares, or concerns that you have. Maybe you have a complaint. You shouldn't have any, but maybe you do. And let us know what you're thinking. We'd really appreciate that. Maybe you have a suggestion for a topic for a show or maybe a particular guest you'd like us to try to get. Let us know. Communicate with us. You can do that very easily through the contact form, or if you don't want to use a contact form, totally fine. You can always email us directly at info@joerooz.com. That's info@joerooz.com. Or you could actually leave a comment somewhere down below over there, and we'll make sure we get those. All right, so please check it out, joerooz.com. That's joerooz.com. All right, our man from the future is waiting for us in the backstage area, so I want to start bringing him up here. Folks, just want to also remind you that this segment is courtesy of Podmatch. That's right, Podmatch. Podmatch automatically matches ideal podcast hosts and guests for interviews while streamlining the process. Podmatch helps the right podcast guest and host find each other faster and automates administrative work so you can focus on what matters, and that's getting quality guests and getting their stories out there to you, the listeners. So check them out, podmatch.com/member/Joe. You can find out all the information about this show right there and also on how to become a member of Podmatch. So check them out, podmatch.com/member/Joe. All right. Well, this is going to be really interesting. Folks, I'd like to introduce you to Ian Reilly. Ian is our man from the future. Now, obviously, he's not from some mystical galaxy far, far away. He's a man from down under, and we're very happy to have him here. Ian is an engineer turned entrepreneur turned. My mouth will catch up. Don't worry. Entrepreneur turned author whose life went from teaching in Samoa right into the eye of a cyclone and straight through to building and exiting a global ag tech startup. He's here tonight to talk about why chaos can be your greatest teacher, how uncertainty forged his courage, and what every man should know about taking the leap when life upends your plans. Ian, welcome to the show.
Great. Thanks for having me.
So how are things down under?
Well, the future is pretty stable, I'm afraid. It's the world hasn't ended. It seems to be going on as it was before. The only difference, I think, is that here we're driving on the other side of the road. We speak with an Australian accent, and there's a lot more kangaroos. So if your audience wants to get ready for the future, I think you need to start adopting those things.
I think so too. That's why, we picked my last name as Rooz. So it's to get used to the Rooz, Oh man, bad
Right.
joke. I know that was a bad one. But how come you're not upside down?
Sorry? Oh, yeah. Well, strangely enough, the Earth is round, unlike some people think. Yeah.
But shouldn't you be upside down then?
No.
Or StreamYard flipping you the right way?
We flip the camera upside down so it
Oh, there
comes
you
out
go.
the right way.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So Ian, like I told you before the show, I like to kind of set things off with some ice-breaking questions. So if your life right now had a theme song, what should have been playing when you walked on stage?
Yeah. I think the song, originally by the Birds in Australia, it was sung by the Seekers, which is, there is a time for everything under heaven.
Oh, okay.
A time to be born, a time to die. It's from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3.
Yes,
Yeah, sung to music. So I think that would be probably a good theme song.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Did they do a cover?
Sounds of Silence.
Did they do a cover of the Seekers, or was that who did it first?
I think the Birds did it first.
Birds did it first. Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. The Seekers was an Australian band that's pretty popular here and in the UK. They were where they made their name in the UK and Europe. Less well known in the US.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they sang a lot of cover songs.
Nice. All right. So that's a good choice. I tried, I mentioned to you before the show, I tried to get The Land Down Under as your walk-on, but it caused me some trouble trying to get it loaded up into the board. So I wasn't able to do it. So I'm sorry. I tried.
Yeah,
that would have been fun. That would have been fun. So what's your go-to don't judge me comfort food?
So if coffee counts as food, it would be an espresso cappuccino.
Okay. All right.
If you want real food, solid food, it would be an ashed chèvre cheese.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's beautiful cheese. Goat's cheese.
I don't think I've had that. I don't think I've had that.
Yeah, they make it in France. They also make it here. But it's very expensive. Very nice.
That's probably why I haven't had it. So
yeah. So don't judge me by spending so much money on a piece of cheese.
No. It just reminded me of the Monty Python skit, The Cheese Shop.
Oh yeah. I know passages of that by heart.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Norwegian Jarlsberger, perhaps.
Yes. I like the Venezuelan beaver cheese, whatever that is.
Yes, exactly. There were definitely some things in there that I'm sure were made up, but it's good stuff, man.
Yeah,
that is good stuff. I agree with you about the coffee. I'm a Sicilian, so I love my espresso. And
great. Yeah.
We don't do cappuccino after 11 a.m. That's a no-no. Cappuccino's over for breakfast. Espressos anytime. Tonight, though, usually I have coffee, but tonight I'm sucking on some chamomile tea. Got a little bit of a hoarse voice here, so I got the tea. Got some in there, so we're doing pretty good with that.
Well, you can be forgiven, given you have a hoarse voice.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you. I do appreciate it. And I know it's because I did my Sylvester Stallone impression last night on the show, so I kind of messed up the voice for today. I don't know. It could be because it's like 40 degrees here and I slept with an AC on.
Oh, okay.
Could be that.
Yeah. It's been 40 degrees here too, except centigrade.
Yeah, which is what in actual temperature.
Oh, 105.
Okay, yeah, that's a normal day here in Texas.
Right.
Yeah, so this is our 2 weeks of winter that we got.
Right.
This
It's
will
the
be
sort
over
of
soon.
climate I'd like.
Yeah. But I remember when I moved to Texas 10 years ago. I'm a transplant. I'm here from New York originally. When I moved here 10 years ago, moving day, it was 112 degrees.
Mm.
So that was a joy. That was welcome to Texas. But yeah, that was all right though. I don't mind the heat so much. I really don't. I mean, here it's a dry heat, so it's not so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, for me anyway, because New York, it gets hot in New York, but it's mostly it's like a humid. So it's harder to breathe and to move around. You feel drained all day long. So the dry heat I can handle for the most part. Yeah, my electric bill can't handle it, but
my first introduction to the US was flying into Minneapolis in January during a cold snap. It was minus 25 when you stepped out of the plane.
Oh yeah. My last winter in New York, we had three blizzards back to back to back, and it was like -2 or something like that. Not as cold as Minnesota gets, but cold enough that when you went outside, your nose hairs froze and your eye moisture crystallized as soon as they started coming down your cheek. It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. Now down there in Australia, you grew up on a sheep farm, right?
Yeah.
So how did that shape your view of work and risk?
Well, good question. Yeah. So I think one of the characteristics of certainly farmers, I'm sure this is true in the US as much as it is in Australia, is that farmers tend to, if they can't afford something, they make it themselves. And our farm was not a very big one. It wasn't a very productive one, but my father worked it really well. So I learned to be very resourceful. I learned to start making stuff when I was 6 or 7 years old. I made my first billy cart at 7. We learned to use tools. We learned to make do and improvise, find solutions to problems. That whole framework mindset of just making do, finding solutions, being innovative, really permeated my mindset as I went on to become an engineer, and really impacted my whole career in ways that I didn't understand until later on, when I was surrounded by people who didn't have that mindset, which was just, sort of the way I thought about things and the way myself, my family and my friends looked at life. It was very much we can do attitude. If there's a problem, it needs to be solved. We get in and find a solution. We don't sit there and become a victim.
Yeah, I know what you mean. See, it's like that. It's like that here in where I live. Actually, very resourceful. Very just using whatever's available to you to get the job done. And it's just the attitude, and it's good though. It's good because I learned how, when I moved here, how spoiled I was living up in New York City. You pretty much had access to whatever you needed. You could do whatever you wanted to do, and most of the time, nobody did anything for themselves. They hired somebody to do it for them. Down here, you do it yourself. So I learned a few things when I moved here, and a different type of a work ethic, which is incredibly dedicated to the work they do, and and it's really just it was a learning experience when I first got it. A learning curve too. I mean, it was an adjustment to say the least.
Yeah.
Especially since I don't speak a lick of Spanish, and that's pretty much the predominant language down here. But it's very interesting.
Yeah. So it's interesting, as a farmer's kid, you sort of, in some ways, you miss out on some of the educational opportunities that people get in the major cities. There's things you miss out on, but I think it's well and truly supplemented by a whole lot of other life skills, which really set me up really well for coping with whatever happened in life, and certainly set me up for being an entrepreneur, and before that, an innovation, consultant in other countries. just realizing and being prepared to find a solution to a problem.
Now, were you homeschooled or public education?
No, public education. Yeah.
Okay.
My parents did send me to a new Christian school for 6 months, but that wasn't, they became unhappy with the way the finances were being managed by that. So they pulled me out and sent me to the local government high school. Yeah,
Okay.
which wasn't bad. Wasn't a bad high school. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I find it. I have two children, and my son is the younger of the two. And when he graduated, I was very surprised at the curriculum that they were being taught at the time he was graduating. And he graduated 2019, I think it was. But I remember some of the curriculum, and it's like, wow, why aren't they teaching you American history? Why aren't they teaching you, all these basic things that I was educated on when I was going through school? The curriculum has changed so much. It was much watered down, much more watered down than I thought it could ever be. And there was more.
Yeah, and that process is happening here as well. I mean, I was at high school in the 70s, and so my own children, who are now adults, are somewhat horrified at what what we used to do, and what was quite acceptable behaviour by teachers and students.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny now when you look back. But in many ways, it was tougher, but it set us up well. It made us very resilient.
Yeah, and that's good. That's good. You need to be that way. You can't the way the political structure is around the world today, not just in Australia, but also here in the States and elsewhere. You have to learn to be more self-reliant. You can't rely on government. Government does not have your best interest in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to learn.
You have to be careful what you say, don't you? Okay. I'm not going to bait you in on that one. All right. So what took you from Australia to volunteering in Samoa? I saw that in your profile. That was really interesting.
Yeah. So when I was at university studying engineering, I was influencnced by a couple of lecturers who encouraged me to look at doing engineering in developing countries to help out. And my wife and I we were both committed Christians. We were thinking about overseas aid work or mission work. And a friend from World Vision encouraged us to apply for this Australian Volunteers Abroad program. So essentially, this was the Australian equivalent of the Peace Corps.
Okay.
In fact, it was a forerunner of the Peace Corps.
I see.
Started in 1949. And so the difference between the Australian system and the Peace Corps is they operate like an employment bureau. They found a job for you overseas, and then they gave you a bit of training and sent you off, paid for your airfare, and that was about it. After that, you were basically on your own.
I gotcha.
And that had its benefits because we had no rules, whereas Peace Corps were employees of the US government. They had to conform to rules and regulations. We didn't have any. We didn't have any help either, but that was okay. We'd worked for 5 years before we went, so we had some work experience and maturity. My wife was a trained teacher. I wasn't, but I enjoyed teaching, and so we thought, yeah, we can do this. So off we went. We'd never been overseas before. It was a bit of a shock arriving in one of the least developed countries in the world, where most people had an income at the level of a few $100 US a year, which is the poorest of the poor by UN standards. And it was very much a developing country. It was pretty rough. But we adjusted, and then 2 weeks later, a cyclone came and destroyed everything.
I was going to ask you about that. So when that cyclone hit, what was the first real panic moment for you?
The first thought was, if our roof blows off, what's going to happen to us and our stuff? The second thought was, how are we going to make sure we don't get killed in the process?
Right. Yeah.
So we started to batten down the hatches. We packed everything we could into cupboards, and I nailed all the cupboards shut hammered them shut with a nail. We closed all the drawers, put everything in drawers that we could. We tried to close the windows, but a lot of them were rusted open, and they were louver windows. So basically, the full force of the cyclone was blowing directly through our house for 3 days. So everything
3 days.
just got completely wet. I mean, there was rain falling down through the roof, blowing in straight in horizontally through the windows. So the first night was pretty scary. The water was just pooling inside the house. We had to bucket water out of the house regularly. But we had some Peace Corps neighbours, 2 girls, one from Minnesota, one from Ohio. They had a bunch of friends from a number of countries that happened to get stuck there and marooned there with them. So we basically pooled our resources, whatever food we had. We all, ate together, prepared meals together, slept on the floor until the wind stopped blowing and the rain stopped falling. We watched a lot of destruction around us. Our principal's house roof blew off. A building next to our house was completely destroyed and collapsed. Trees were blowing over everywhere, and as I describe in the book, it looked like a giant lawnmower had just gone through the place and cut everything down and destroyed it. But eventually the wind stopped blowing, and then we started to work out what we should do. And again, we pooled our resources. We basically lived together with our Peace Corps friends and neighbours, and we became very close to them.
How long did it take you to recover from all that?
Really about 18 months before everything was stable again. We got the power lines reconnected in about 6 weeks, but we didn't get regular power. We often got power, it was rationed, so we got power often between 12 midnight and 4 in the morning, which is just when you need it. And as you can imagine.
Yes. I imagine everybody's lifestyle was completely uprooted.
And then for a week we'd get no power at all. And then it would come back again briefly and then disappear again. So when you have intermittent power like that, you just live as if you've got none because you can't rely on it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that went on and off for about 12 months.
Wow.
There was a ship that got marooned basically right next to the main street of the capital beach there, and it stayed there for 2 years.
Wow.
They couldn't get it off.
And when was this? I don't remember seeing
1990.
Okay. All right.
So it was still there when we left in 1992, sitting within a stone's throw from the main street of the town.
Wow. That's amazing. And thank God you made it out of that in one piece. And that's a story in and of itself. So now in hindsight, what was the hardest cultural lesson that you had to swallow in Samoa?
I really think when you live in a different culture and people are speaking a different language, which you're trying to learn, one of the most challenging things is just not knowing what's happening. But living in an environment or in a cloud of uncertainty and unpredictability. People don't tell you the truth. They tell you what you want to hear because it's face-saving culture. People tell you things that will make you happy. At the same time, a lot of people around you, the Samoans, don't know what's going on either because you're in a poor developing country and everything is transmitted by word of mouth and by gossip and so on. There's no real news apart from the radio station, which only broadcasts in Samoan. And even then, that news is pretty unreliable. So living in that cloud of uncertainty just wears you down. You never know what's happening. Things happen in an unpredictable way, randomly every day. One day we would go up to the school and find that there's no students or teachers because for some reason the school was decided to be closed that day, but no one told the teachers.
That's convenient.
So all those lesson plans you had, they're all thrown out the window, and you have to start replanning, and eventually it just wears you down, and then you stop trying because it's just too difficult. You stop trying to achieve anything.
How long did it take you? Did you learn the language well? Like, did you become fluent in the language, or Just had a great.
We conversationally fluent in, but unfortunately, one of the other lessons we learned is that every culture, no matter how monolithic it is, it has subcultures, and there's a teenage subculture in every culture.
Of
And
course.
so we had students come and live with us in order to learn the language, and we did learn it, but we learned teenage Samoan, so we learned things that often not polite and ways you shouldn't say things, and we didn't know until someone would take pity on us and inform us that that's probably not a good thing to say to an adult. And
Yeah, I understand that. When I was in high school, I cheated because you had to take a foreign language, and my family spoke Italian,
yeah.
but they spoke dialect Italian.
Yeah.
Quite different than what they teach you in school. In school, it's proper language. So whether it's Spanish, Italian, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's right.
So my grandfather was pure Sicilian, and when he tried to tutor me in Italian, he would get very frustrated, and I learned all of the curse words before I learned any of the any of the actual language, just out of his frustration. And I remember the first time I went to school, and I got frustrated at something. One of those Sicilian curses came out in the classroom and stunned the teacher. She was like, "What did you just say?" I don't know what I say. But it's the way it is.
I think the other cultural issue for us was just the level of violence, which was just part of living in Samoa.
Mm.
Like, I remember very early on, one of the girls sitting in the class got annoyed with her friends, so she had her book and she smashed the book straight into her face, and really hard.
Wow.
And her friend just laughed.
Well, but that's typical. I think most teenagers would do that too. They would just
Yeah. Parents would be, yelling at their children to stop doing something, and they couldn't reach them. The kids were too quick, so they'd pick up a rock and throw it at them.
Nice.
I know it's just normal life in the village.
That's a good way to keep discipline in a classroom, right?
Yeah. I threw chalk. I have to admit, I threw chalk.
It works. I had a teacher who used to do that when I was in high school. He would do that. If you were drifting off, you weren't paying attention, you would get plunked in the head by a piece of chalk.
Yeah. My teachers did it. That was the 1970s. So we actually had a lot of American teachers in Australia in the 70s because we didn't have enough teachers. So, and wages for teachers were higher in Australia than the US.
Mm.
So like at our high school where we had like 30 teachers, we would have had 8 Americans.
Wow.
And a lot of them never went back. They stayed here and, they're married and settled and so on. But yeah, we had quite a lot of American teachers all over the place.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to do something like that. Just do some missionary work down somewhere, far away from
We actually thought it was great having these Americans. They're sort of like people off the television. It's funny.
Bugs.
The same accent.
Yeah, what's up, Doc? I have a very good friend of mine. He does a segment with me on Wednesdays. Name is Wayne. He and his wife actually are missionaries with Franklin Graham's organization. It just just flipped out of my head here, the name of it. But he's been all over the place with them, and he loves doing it. He's just that kind of guy. He just loves serving. He loves taking care of people. He loves being useful. And I need him to come down here. I got some stuff I need to get done around the house, but so I'll get him down here. It's a missionary effort, but
I can understand that.
But he's up there in Washington State, so he's about 3,000 miles away from me, which is, it's a travel. It's a travel.
Yeah.
So looking back, is there one particular moment that you now see as the pivot point for the rest of your life?
Yeah. There's probably a pivot point every year, but in terms of long-term influence, when I look back, it would be the experience in Samoa that had a profound impact on my later life as an engineer, and I spent a lot of my career developing new technology products. So going from, instead of being at the simple end in a developing country, working with high-tech companies in the Silicon Valley, in the US and in Europe and Japan, working at the very forefront of new technology. But the lessons that I learned in Samoa in terms of leadership, how to lead people, what's now called situational leadership,
Okay.
and managing, interacting with people, crossing cultures in particular, how to make an emotional connection with an audience in a different culture, or by working with them, how to connect with them in a way that resonates well. All of those things I learned by 2 years in Samoa, which was pretty hard. 2 years. It was pretty tough. It was a crash course, if you might say, but it was very good. So I think that would be the pivotal moment, and that's why I've written the book Encounter, because I want to share the experience with other people, and also the impact that had on my future life. So I don't do much of that in this first book. I've got 2 other books planned, and I did plan to be able to relate it more to future life as a consultant, but also then as an entrepreneur, because I was living with uncertainty and risk is just the lifeblood of being a successful entrepreneur. You got to be very comfortable with chaos and uncertainty to be able to do that work and do it well and succeed.
That makes sense. And actually, you just actually highlighted a point that we had a guest on last week that we talked about taking risk and how important that is in being successful. You have to take a risk. You have to take a chance. If you don't take a chance, you don't take risk, you'll never know what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah, if you don't take risks, you're never going to exercise your courage either.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
You got to have courage. One of the things that I learned is that I reread, the Bible differently when I read when Paul or someone says, be strong and of good courage, like to Joshua in the Bible.
Yes, sir.
Sort of like, okay, that meant some people are going to be really hurt.
Yeah,
it might be you.
Yeah, exactly right.
But be courageous. Go out, step forth.
Yes, sir. I want to get to your book in a second, but I wanted to ask you about your engineering background. Before we do that, how did your engineering background inform how you saw problems in the world?
Well, I think it's pretty strong emphasis. It's hard to separate that, from my growing up on a farm background, because they're interlinked. But essentially, engineers are problem solvers. And so learning to solve problems, was a great way, or being trained to solve problems was a great way to approach life in general, because we are faced with difficulties and challenges and problems, particularly if we have the courage to step out and do something, try something different, try something significant, unusual, innovate. You need courage to be able to do that. You need to be able to step out into the unknown and take risks.
You have to make yourself uncomfortable.
Yeah. So engineering is a profession which is inherently managing risk. You are always dealing with things that are not precise, not well known, often not enough information. You've got to be able to take steps out in the unknown. Now, that's different if you're someone who's just analyzing, structures. But I wasn't doing that. I was designing new products, products that have never been done before, or, putting an existing product into a completely new environment, and dealing with risk. So right from the start, I started my career with the Australian Army, and we're dealing with special forces, where we're trying to save lives, but there is always a risk that we might kill a hostage or kill a soldier accidentally or something. So managing risk was there right from the start, and being comfortable with the fact that life is risky. All of life is risky.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
And I think this was the scary thing about COVID, was that people discovered that life is risky.
Yes, to say the least.
There's no guarantee.
That's right. Yeah, to say the least. To say the least.
Yeah.
Now you started a company called Azure. I said it right before the show. Now I'm going to mangle it now. Go ahead, say it.
Yeah. Adjacense.
Adjacense, right? I see. I don't know why. I just froze on it. So when you started the company, what gap in the market were you trying to fill?
Yeah, good question. So there was a very big gap for something that didn't exist, to be honest. I had taken my two teenage daughters in 2011 back to the property that my grandfather used to manage in the outback. So for many years, going back to the 1930s, he ran this sheep station. And talking to the owner about his problems in 2011, he was running cattle. I realized that there was a need for an automated machine to be able to automate the movement of grazing cattle.
Mm-hmm.
Because all around the world, and particularly in Australia, they lack skilled labor. People don't want to go out and work in the middle of nowhere in, 110-degree Fahrenheit heat with flies and everything else on the back of a horseback to manage cattle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's getting harder. So I thought it'd be great if there was a GPS-based electric fence that people could use. So I thought this would be called a virtual fence, and then coincidentally, a few months after that, I was made redundant from my role. I got a payout, so I had basically a year's salary to do something with. And one day I typed virtual fence into Google, and it came up with this virtual fence idea. And I found this is an old idea; it's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, CSIRO, which is Australia's largest publicly funded research organisation, had teamed up with MIT and the US Department of Agriculture some years earlier to develop this technology.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the USDA and MIT pulled out of the program, but CSIRO continued on. They developed their technology and patented it, but there was no product available because someone needed to commercialize that and turn it into a real product. So I thought, well, maybe there's a gap, maybe there's an opportunity here to do this. And when I investigated, I found that everyone, they'd talked to many US agricultural corporations. These are like $2 billion, or in some cases $200 billion corporations, but they wouldn't take it on because it was too risky. There were too many technology problems to solve, which needed solving. It was all going to be too expensive and too risky, so they wouldn't take it on. So, as a startup, we'd really got nothing to lose. But I had by this stage about 25 years experience taking new technologies that had never been put out in the market before and turning them into products. Mm. And I've done that for corporations all over the world, and also startups, in the Silicon Valley, also in Switzerland and the UK. So I thought, well, if anyone can do this, I should be able to do it. So I waited to build a bit of a network, and then fortuitously, one of the state governments, Victorian state government in Australia, offered a grant to actually look at building a business case for this technology. So they actually paid me $75,000 to go and do the work to do that, which I did. And then the money ran out, of course. So I kept going under my own steam, launched the company in 2014, and in 2016, we started raising capital. So the first company to join was a New Zealand-based company, well known to US farmers, called Gallagher. They are the world's premium brand electric fence company, and they pride themselves on being great innovators. Mm-hmm. It's a family-owned company, but it's a big one, well known all over the world. They came on as lead investor. We raised capital, and then we did a lot of rounds involving mainly high net worth individual investors from Australia, but also North America, Europe, UK, New Zealand. And then we built the company to, at one point, 67 staff in a couple of locations in Australia and also one in China. We set up manufacturing in China, in Shenzhen. And then in 2021, Gallagher offered to buy up the company, made an offer for the shares. So the shareholders accepted the offer, and I bowed out. And then I retired and started writing books.
Nice. So what was the
Yeah.
toughest leadership challenge you faced at the startup?
So, as a Christian, integrity is very important to me. Maintaining that, being true to your own values
Yes.
was very important, and it's very tempting to offer, well, the J curve of future revenue that US investors in particular love to see. Being able to sell the vision for what this could be without being deceptive or, gilding the lily, as we call it in consulting, without saying things that just weren't true
Right.
or couldn't possibly be true. I think the tension between those things was hard to navigate with integrity and maintain that, knowing that you were going to lose investment money as a result of that. But it didn't mean that I was only bringing on the sort of investors who really wanted to invest in a company that was led by someone who had that level of integrity. And I think that was important. It brought me much better quality shareholders. The other one was running, running full pelt towards a financial cliff. At one stage, I had 7 employees, and I needed to raise money. We raised it with 2 weeks spare before the money came in the bank account, and I was able to pay my staff. Being able to tell the staff, the money will come, we will pay you, have faith in us, was, that's hard.
Yeah.
At one stage, we were running on grant money. We needed another extension of our grant. We're having a board meeting of 3 board members at that stage. We didn't have the money yet. We were looking at putting staff off, slowing down our expenditure dramatically, just at a time when we really needed to grow. And before the board meeting, I went down to get coffees for other board members at the cafe underneath us. While I was waiting for the coffee, the grant guy from the grant body rang up and said, "Just want to let you know you've got your money. It'll be there in your bank account in 4 weeks."
Oh, wow.
So went back to have the board meeting and say, the money's coming in 4 weeks. We'll have it in our bank account. We'll be able to pay staff.
Outstanding. That's a blessing.
Yeah. So, that sort of uncertainty while having, asking people to have faith in you, that you will raise the money, that there was a future for them. I had a number of people who's, launched their careers in AI and machine learning in this startup. Some of them I poached from big corporations, telcos and other companies, with the offer of, come and join us. I know I've only got enough money to pay you for 3 months, but we'll find the other money and
we'll get there.
And you launch your career with a dynamic startup rather than this big elephant telco.
Right.
And so that was hand on heart saying we will do this. I couldn't tell you how many people told me what you're doing is impossible. It will never work. And if it does work, no one will ever buy it. It's pretty,
It's encouraging. That's
encouraging.
to say the least. That's encouraging. Yeah. I know how you feel. I because people tell me that with the podcast. So, but we're still here.
That sort of stuff was challenging. And, I think as a Christian, I had faith that was and purpose. And I think that made a very big difference, knowing that, I believe that God had placed me there for this purpose, that if someone was going to make this happen, it was me. And God had given me the skills and the experience and everything to do that. And that was a very big, support. So even if the company went belly up, we would have pioneered the technology anyway. And so knowing that through all of that, even if it failed financially and collapsed. God had a purpose in that.
Yes.
That's more than enough, solid foundation to be able to say to people, we can do this.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
That's great. Now let's get into your book a little bit. So you wrote a book called Encounter. I want you to tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah. Book here.
Plug it.
First book. So I always wanted to write some of the stories from our experience in Samoa because, I just wanted to share the stories with people. I come from a family of Irish storytellers.
Okay.
My family all write stories. Both of my brothers, have written unpublished books or half written them, and they both write poetry as well. So we're sort of a literary family. I wanted to write it. I wanted to write in a way that really put people there and gave them the experience of being there. But I also wanted to share the lessons that we learned in a way that would resonate because it was in the context of a true story. So the things you read in self-help books are great, but the best ones are the ones that are in the context of a real story of real people. And so being able to share that, I thought would be a great thing to do. I'd never written a book before. I've done a lot of writing, but it was all, emails, copywriting, presentations,
Sure.
Sales stuff, marketing stuff. I've written a lot of magazine articles for technical journals and other stuff like that. So I knew, some different writing styles. So I set about first trying out writing some stories, which I gave to family, gave to my kids. My kids were pretty amazed at some of the things I was writing about. They said, I never knew you did all this. I never knew that. Why didn't you tell us? I thought, okay, I better write some more. And eventually I decided to pull it into a book, and I went and got I paid an accomplished author with a writers group nearby to mentor me, and we used to meet every 2 weeks, sometimes every 3, meet in a cafe for a couple of hours and just review the last 4,000 words that I'd written, and through that I helped establish a voice and a point of view and a tense, and developed a style that I thought would work. It took us about 12 months to do that. Meanwhile, I'd written an awful lot of, I'd written about 250,000 words, which is a good way to writing War and Peace in draft form.
There you go.
And they told me, you really need to cut that down to 80,000 words, because 100,000 words in itself was too big. So I got down to 120, and then I had to cut it down further to 90, and then it ended up being 100. And then it was a matter of establishing, a plot narrative. So I did a course with another a writer who, over a period of weeks, showed us how to develop a plot narrative, which is the basic plot of a thriller.
Okay.
There's an inciting incident, there's a climax, there's this, there's that along the way, there's a soft landing at the end. So I used that to string the story together to make a narrative, which ended up covering only the first 3 months of our time in Samoa. But it was a pretty tumultuous 3 months. A lot gets covered, and I've written it in a very immersive style. So I just met a woman the other day who said, I read your book, I couldn't put it down. I felt like I was there. And she said, to be honest, I neglected my work and a whole lot of other things. So I wanted to finish it.
Well, that's a great compliment, though.
Yeah, he's not the only one who's saying that.
That's
a lot
great.
of people are saying, I really felt like I was there. And I reread some thriller writers that I like Lee Child, wrote the Reacher series.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
John Grisham,
Yeah.
he turned being a lawyer into a thriller, which is a pretty great achievement.
Yeah, I think
so I reread, his style, Hemingway, Steinbeck, other authors that really resonated with me. Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt. And I thought, how do they make it so that I've just got to keep turning the pages? What do they do? So I sort of borrowed their craft, if you like, and thought, okay, I can write it this way, keep the pace moving, and each chapter ends with a bit of a cliffhanger about to lead you to the next chapter and things like that. So in the end I wrote it. Then I spent 18 months trying to find a publisher, which was a real tough gig.
You actually answered my next question already. So I was going to ask you about why do you think readers connect with your stories, and you just told us, the style of writing, the immersive style of writing, but I also think it has to do with the character development as well. If you could have a character that's so multidimensional and incredibly boring, you can also have a character who's single dimensional and incredibly boring, or you can have the opposite. You could have somebody that's really exciting and interesting to read about, somebody that you eventually start to care about as you're reading the stories. And so I think that's a key also.
Yeah. I think another key difference is to a lot of memoirs. A lot of memoirs are, I had a look at Hillary Clinton's memoir, What Happened, which he wrote in like 2018.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And it's sort of like, yeah, Hillary, I think you're just rewriting history here to make yourself look better.
Yeah, that's pretty much all she does. So,
and you can say that about just about every politician, every persuasion that writes a memoir, So instead, in Encounter, I'm brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
I write what we were thinking at the time, not what I think now, looking back. So at the end of the first chapter, at the end of our first day, we were so shocked and suffering, sleep deprivation, and it's hot and just felt awful. And I was wondering, maybe we made a mistake. Maybe we shouldn't have come. Maybe we're going to die here. It was sort of like, it was pretty shocking. So I write all of that, and I write in, my impressions at the time, what I thought at the time.
Right.
So it's interesting. One of the challenges today, with today's atmosphere, is a lot of writers groups and writers in particular are really very far left.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of judgment about writing about other cultures. Mm-hmm. And so what I've done in Encounter to circumvent that is just write honestly what I thought and felt at the time, and leave the reader to, make a judgment. You might not like the fact that, I did this to a kid. You might think that that's terrible, but hey, it was 1990. It was in another country, another culture. It was pretty tough. This is what we did. This is why we did it. You might not like it, but don't tell me we didn't do it. Don't tell me that the kids didn't say that. Don't tell me that's what they didn't think. That's what they thought. That's what they said. That's what they told us. Make up your own mind about it. It's not very comfortable, particularly in today's, audience, particularly the violence.
Today's politically correct audience.
Yeah. So I just hate political correctness now. It's just a lot of little lies.
Yes. Excellent. I love that. I'm going to steal that one. Little correctness, just a bunch of little lies. It absolutely is. That's why in this show we don't adhere to political correctness. You say what you got to say. I don't care.
And so I'm hoping that it will be a challenge to particularly young people reading the book, that it will open their eyes up to, seeing the world in a different way, and seeing the world through the eyes, hopefully of, an Indigenous people group that's real. This is really how they think. This is really how they see the world, and this is really what their aspirations are. And they're not that different to us. No,
yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Now, can you talk us through a passage from Encounter that still kind of shakes you up a little bit when you read it now?
Yeah. So there's a further towards the end of the book.
No spoilers.
The subtitle is A Journey into Chaos, Culture and Compassion. So the chaos is sort of vaguely the cyclone. Mm-hmm. culture is about trying to understand and grapple with the culture. Then the compassion is engaging in the life of our students. So the academically standout best student in my class was a girl who I call Pelopia in the book. It's not a real name, but anyway, she's a standout student, but I can see there's something wrong. There's just something wrong with her inner life, and I don't know what it is. So my Peace Corps friend who lived in a nearby village, she went and did some investigation. She found out this girl was in a sexual relationship with her father.
Oh my.
And it's sort of like, oh my. And then she leaves, stops coming to school. And it turned out that the girls in my class had yelled across the class that she was, fucking her father and she was a bitch.
Jeez.
She never came back to school. But we went and followed up with her and kept in touch through one of the other girls in the class who was her friend and neighbour. We got quite close to her. So we basically tried to look after her. She then fell pregnant to her father and had a baby.
Oh my gosh.
This went on. And anyway, the problem is that in Samoa, youth suicide rate was very high. Kids often suicided by drinking paraquat, a weed killer, and it made you die a very slow and agonizing death.
Oh my gosh.
Terrible thing. So parents, families throughout Samoa were petrified, really. They were scared that their teenage son or daughter might do this due to, goodness knows what, unrequited love or,
Yeah.
who knows. So in the end, in the story, I don't finish the story in Encounter. I'll finish it in another book, but I leave the reader with the fact that the spectre of suicide sort of looms in every fearful Samoan family, and and Pelopia's soul is ripe for reaping.
Wow.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's wow. I wasn't expecting that when I asked the question. That's wow. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, it wasn't the only one.
Sure, but
one of the shocking things for many people was we were going to a Pacific Island paradise where everyone is happy and seems so relaxed and peaceful. Yet under the surface, life is hard. Lots of things are uncontrolled, often violent. There's real suffering. And if you're a teenager in a culture, in a village where houses have no walls or windows or doors, because they don't, traditional houses don't in Samoa, there's no privacy. If you're a teenage girl in trouble or struggling or a teenage boy, it's doubly difficult. You're grappling with all sorts of psychological problems and maturing and, mocking, laughter, and goodness knows what else. You either become resilient or it really affects you, and there's no privacy. So that was hard.
that would be a hard lesson for teenagers today to understand and learn.
Yeah.
You can't go running off to your room, close the door, and isolate yourself. Everything is known throughout the family.
And, if you're in your house and your mother yells at you, tells you, useless, good for nothing, and go and get the firewood, all the neighbours here.
Yeah. Jeez. That's, wow.
So those sort of things were very, very, very challenging to live with. There were many beautiful things in Samoa, though, that I write about, particularly later in the book. There was a lot of very beautiful things about village life, and I share those as well. And Samoan hospitality for, to strangers was unsurpassed. They would spend their last penny to you know, buy a packet of biscuits so they could give you some European food that you might like, you know,
Wow.
or a can of something.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. Like
So they were
the
very beautiful.
selflessness, just the selflessness of it. That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Completely
Hard to
selfless.
find that in the Western culture.
Yeah, that level of generosity and hospitality, pretty much unknown. Yeah, here.
So what do you want someone to walk away with or thinking about after they finish reading your book?
Well, I hope they walk away with a different perspective on the world. I hope it gives them the experience of perhaps, brushing up against another culture, but also being able to see the world through a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they see that. I hope also if they're not a Christian that they'll see the world from a Christian perspective and say, okay, here's a different way of looking at the world.
Mm-hmm.
Each of the chapters in Encounter starts with a quote from the words of Christ.
Okay.
A lot from the Sermon on the Mount, but other parts of the Gospels. And each chapter reflects back on that. I hope that they come away and think, maybe I should give Jesus another look.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know what I thought about him. Maybe I should, maybe even just pick up a Bible and start reading. That would be good.
Did you see a lot of conversions in when you were in Samoa through your work, or is it?
So the odd thing with Samoa is that it's very much a Christian country, and everyone went to church.
Okay, that was my next
There
question.
wasn't much evidence of really what we call changed lives,
Okay.
committed lives. So one of our teachers, for example, and the church pastor, of course, they stood out with the way they lived their life. They stood out as being changed.
I
They
see.
were real. Their belief was real for them. For the other, it was very cultural.
Okay.
To go to church and do the right things and say this and all the rest of it. So we did see, interestingly, influence on the lives of some of the other volunteers who were with us from other countries who came as atheists and went back seriously considering Christ. And we did see some of the teenage kids at the school, go to non-church Christian activities where they were challenged to actually, commit their life to Christ and make a difference in the way they live.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Now I want to shift because we're running up on the clock here. So I wanted to ask you about your faith, and when did you become a Christian? When did you come to Christ?
Yeah, well, to be honest, quite young. I was brought up in a Christian home, although my father didn't come to faith until I was about age 10. So we went through a period of attending a fairly conservative small country Baptist church, which I went through with my teen years.
Okay.
They were very conservative. And in a way, I think, they taught me a lot, one of which is to stop being so narrow. But God is a little bit bigger than what you prescribed him. But, they were the only church in the little town we were in. It had like 8,000 people in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were there were always streets in town like that, full of people with broken homes, into crime. Most of the crimes committed in the town were from people who lived in those streets. There was public housing.
Mm-hmm.
They were the only people who went and picked up those kids and took them to Sunday school and gave them a meal, looked after them during the holidays when their parents were often, drunk or even disappeared. They took care of them, and they really reached people for Christ. They really made a difference to the people in that community,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a great testimony to me. The question really became when I went to university. You know, I think I asked a lot of deep questions from when I was a teenager, and I started looking for answers. At that stage, the sort of Christian faith I had in my church was sort of, well, here's the Bible, believe that. You know,
No
what do you
question.
need to go any further for? Just believe what it says here.
Mhm.
So when I went to university, I went with a lot of questions. Fortunately, I had a mentor who was a Christian there. He was a Presbyterian. He introduced me to Francis Schaeffer and C.S. Lewis
Mhm.
and various other writers. And I got involved in a Christian group at university where we did a lot of cold turkey evangelism. We'd
Okay.
rock up and you know, just ask if we could talk to people and have a conversation and introduce the gospel and so on. We did a lot of mission work. It was good training.
Sure.
But that also got me talking with, you know, I used to have regularly meet with a Hindu master's philosophy student. We'd have regular conversations with atheists and Muslims, people from all sorts of walks of life and from around the world. It was a pretty multicultural university, as many of them are. So, you know, that was great experience for me and challenged me to think about really deep questions. So that underpinned my faith going forward. And the work of Francis Schaeffer in particular was very helpful in understanding where different religions are coming from, where different philosophies come from, and gave me a good foundation for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would have. What was I had a question on it. It flipped out of my head. I lost it.
Mm.
I'm
So
a
if any of your listeners are questioning things like that, I did spend time, my wife and I spent time at the UK Library, if you're familiar with that, and also at the Swiss Library. It's a great place if you've got questions, you're feeling challenged about your faith,
Mhm.
or you've just got questions in general and you have no faith and you're an atheist. It's a great place to just go and talk to people and engage
I
in.
don't think atheists don't have faith. Atheists do have faith. It takes more faith to be an atheist, to be honest with you. You know?
It does, but they don't recognize that.
No, they don't. But
Usually.
it takes a lot of faith to be an atheist.
Yeah.
Um, what I remembered I was going to ask you. It said, have you ever street preached?
Yeah, I have. When I was younger.
Interesting
Um,
experience, isn't it?
It's an interesting experience. Yeah, we used to do it at university, but then there occasionally we would we would go out down the street of country towns and plant ourselves on the street corner and start preaching. Yeah, you know, it's a tough gig,
It is.
but boy, does it you know, sharpen your faith.
It certainly does. Now, here's the question. So you did street preaching when you were in your younger days. Do you think you'd be able to go out there and street preach today?
Yeah, I would. We're just at the moment taking on a very small church, mainly full of elderly people, that has about 20 people on a Sunday morning,
Oh, okay.
with a view to growing that church. We've just appointed a new young minister full time to work on growing that, and I'm going to encourage him to let's look at doing some of that. You know, just going
Outstanding.
out in the
That's
community and
great.
engaging. Yeah. I
That is
do see street preachers in the centre of Melbourne. It's commonplace, you know, in some of the malls and that. I don't like the way they do it. I think, you know, if you look at the life of Christ and the way he spoke, he told stories.
Mhm.
And it's a story that actually engages people and makes them stop and listen, not being told stuff.
Yeah,
And too many preachers get up and tell people stuff.
I could agree with you on that, but you see a lot of street preachers take the Old Testament prophet approach, you know,
Yeah,
and that is, get up
yeah,
there with their camel skins and, repent.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm actually, then the reason it's fresh in my mind is on my Sunday show, I'm doing a Bible study I do a Bible study show on Sundays,
Yeah.
and I'm teaching through the dispensations. So going from Genesis to Revelation dispensationally, and
Yeah.
so I just finished discussing the Old Testament prophets, moving into the last of the Old Testament prophets, who was John the Baptist, and then going on from John the Baptist going forward to the messages of Christ, and then the two different kingdoms, the kingdom of heaven and kingdom of God, the two different things altogether, and which brings a lot of confusion to people because they don't understand that. But I was thinking about that. It's like, if I went out there today to street preach, I haven't been street preaching in a couple of years. I definitely think I would change my approach, because I was that person that went out there with the fire and brimstone message. I didn't shout and scream and jump up and down like some of these guys do, and get into your face. But I brought you a message about hell and who's going there. That's because that's when I got saved. That's the message that I heard. I got saved listening to a Bible study radio program, and just the guy was preaching a message on hell and who's going there. It just seemed to me at the end of every sentence, I heard that little voice in the back of the head saying, "Hey, I'm talking to you, Joe. This is about you. You better pay attention."
Yeah.
And so that kind of stuck with me. All these years. I got saved in July of 2000, so I've been saved 25 years. Be 26 years this July. And God's been great. He's done some amazing things for me. I don't deserve it.
So I had my eyes open to this. Years ago, I did a Rogan training course in public speaking. So Rogan are probably the foremost, I guess, trainers for people to speak. They train presidents, that sort of thing. Right. So anyway, it was an expensive course, but my company sent me on it, and it was great. So they had a master's course, which I didn't get to do. But it was a brutal training course. They basically break you down emotionally till, literally people are lying on the floor crying.
Huh.
Then they build you up again.
It's military.
Their challenge was, you do the master's course, and then you walk down to the centre of Melbourne, in the middle of the city, outside the General Post Office, on the steps, and you have to speak and get an audience. Like, your speaking has to engage an audience.
Okay.
Of passers-by. So people stop and listen to you, and you gather a crowd. That's the challenge. Can you gather a crowd of people?
It sounds easier than it is. It does. It's a lot easier sounding than it actually is.
But it's pretty. You got to come out with what is the first thing I'm going to say that's going to make people stop and listen.
You got to
how am I going to keep them there? How am I going to keep them enthralled, wanting to listen to the next bit? But as street preachers, I think we need to do that, and I think Jesus did that pretty well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
created it. So that was his shtick. So, and I don't say that irreverently either. So before somebody messages me that I'm a heretic or something like that, I get plenty of those when I do my Bible study. So it's one of those crazy things. But let me ask. So what's next for you? You have another book, another project, something completely unexpected going on?
Yeah. So I do a few things at the moment. One is, people are already asking me for the next book, and I have about half of that drafted. It'll take me a while to get that done. So I'm planning 3 books.
Okay.
With a finale where we ended up being in the second cyclone just before we left, which was even worse than the first.
Oh my.
So it was quite a way to end and leave the place. And I finished Palapia's story. So there's that. I also paint. I've always been a painter. So I'm currently doing murals. This is just volunteer work.
Sure.
Painting. I'm using painting in evangelism. So we're doing some evangelistic art classes where we teach the people some painting skills, but we also present a gospel message using art.
Nice.
And then I mentor a number of other entrepreneurs, business owners, and I speak at a ministry here called Food for Thought, which is a ministry aimed at business people. Okay. And basically, I tell the story about the adjacent startup from the point of view of what difference it made being a Christian doing that. And then we often show an alpha video, if you're familiar with those, afterwards, and engage in conversation and discussion about it. So that's something I'll do more of this year. Once I've exhausted the adjacent story, I'll go on to other stories and other topics that are, engaging for business people. And then, Christian business people invite their non-Christian friends along to learn something about that'll help them in their work as entrepreneurs or business people. And then, they can engage with a real Christian and talk about things of faith as well.
Nice. I talk about your using your painting to bring the gospel message. One of my, I say unofficial teachers, Bible teachers, because I never actually sat in a classroom with him. I never actually met him, but I've read a lot of his books, and I've listened to a lot of his recorded Bible studies and his sermons. He used to do something like that himself. He would do chalk talks, basically. And what he would do is he would get up and he'd preach. He'd preach a message. And this was the most amazing thing. He had no notes. He had his Bible, but it was on the podium next to him. And as he's preaching, he's drawing a chalk drawing of the message that he's preaching, and it's amazing to watch. He no notes.
Yeah.
Rarely even looked at his Bible, but he would quote the scripture exactly, perfectly. I mean, this guy knew his stuff, and he was a tough guy, and I learned a tremendous amount from him. Not the teaching style, because when I would teach Sunday school, I wouldn't teach like that, but just his dedication to it just was incredibly inspiring and incredibly motivating. And he did some amazing work. So yeah, I love that idea. I love doing using your skills, your talents like that to get the gospel message out. You have to, what did Paul say? Being crafty, I caught you with guile,
Yeah.
So,
and people are really interested in art. They see a beautiful picture and they just want to talk about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So last question for you. So, second to last question. Who is someone that you respect right now, and what are they doing that inspires you?
Yes. That wasn't a question I was expecting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It gets folks when I ask that one.
So I think one of the people that I don't know personally, but is our former Deputy Prime Minister,
Okay.
called John Anderson, who has his own, YouTube channel and podcast and so on. He interviews a lot of really, I guess, high stature people. And he's a Christian. He's was our Deputy Prime Minister. So I really respect the way that as a retired politician and farmer, he he's still working his farm, being a very down-to-earth relational guy, that is still using that experience and influence to be able to bring ideas and opportunities to the world. So he's using his experience and influence, and the fact that he knows Mike Pence, for example. He knows, John. He would have known John McCain personally. He knows former prime ministers in Europe and in the UK and so on. But then he also interviews people like Konstantin Kisin. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
He's the UK comedian, now has his own podcast. So I really like the way that he's using that, basically doing what you're doing, but he's the former Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister.
He has a little more clout. So
yeah. To be able to bring, these things to people's notice. He interviews people like Tom Holland, who wrote Dominion.
Mhm.
He'll bring on, that school teacher from England who's pioneering traditional teaching again,
Mhm.
Catherine Beale Singh. He'll bring on, a politician from the US or someone else and engage them in conversation. So in many ways, is the only person I see in Australia who's really doing that
Mhm.
in a way, which I think, I mean, Australia to the way looking at it in the US is our population is smaller than Texas.
Yep.
So if you think how many, in the US, there's a lot of famous people, but how many of them are from Texas?
Yeah, true. No, yeah, quite a few actually.
That narrows the field a bit, though,
Yeah, it does.
Being in Australia doing this, I think, is something that we need here, creating the conversations
Mhm.
and sharing messages in a way that most people aren't doing. So
Yeah, I
I
agree.
listen to the podcast, I admire him, and I respond and engage with them as well.
Outstanding. That's great. Actually, I'm gonna look him up. I'm gonna check out his show.
Yeah, John Anderson.
Yep.
There's quite a few John Andersons in the world, but this is the only one who was the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia.
Well,
So,
if you
the equivalent of the Vice President.
yes, well, if you have a direct link to his show somewhere, you can always send that to me, and if I can't
Yeah,
find it, so that'll help.
yeah,
Sure.
I'll forward it on.
And you're gonna have to add this show to your listening schedule, so you could
Yeah, exactly.
stay on top of things like over here. So
Yeah, great.
all right, Ian. Where can folks go to find out more about you and about your work, sir?
So my website, ianreilly.com.au. I'm about to do a website upgrade,
Okay.
but that will tell you enough about where to find me, and you can send me an email or has phone number and everything on there if you want to contact me. Yeah.
Outstanding. And I know I already have it in the show notes, so it'll be available to anybody who's interested. They can just click on that thing. It'll take you right to you. And that is fantastic. Well, the man from the future, Ian Reilly, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's midday over there. It's like, what, 1 o'clock over there now at some point?
Yeah, it's 1:30. I can say that the future is bright. The sun is shining.
Amen. Amen. All right, Ian, thank you again so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. God bless you, and just keep doing what you're doing, man. I really admire what you're doing and your background and with your book. I wish you the best with that. And I do want to get a copy of it though, so I'm going to be looking where I can get that.
Yeah, well, it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble in the US.
But I want a signed copy, so I gotta go through you.
Yeah, you go to my website. You can get a signed copy from there.
Outstanding.
I will send it across.
Okay.
Across the pond.
Across the pond. That's right. Well, across the pond and north. So, all right, Ian. Thank you again. I appreciate it. You have a great day.
You're welcome. It was great talking with you.
Appreciate
Glad
that.
to be here.
I'll be sending you an email shortly after the show with links. So if you don't mind, just share them out, spread them out, and if you could, give us a follow.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate
That'll
it.
be great.
All right, my friend.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks.
Take care now.
See ya.
All right, folks. Ian Reilly, what a great conversation. That was great. I enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. What a great guy. And you need to check out his website, check out his stuff, and make sure that you drop him a line. Let him know that you heard him here on this show. All right, that's very, very important to us. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the show with all your friends, your family, and your followers. All right, so last minute things. Let's just wrap all this stuff up. All right, folks, here we go. What does it say? Taxation is theft. Taxation is theft. Taxation is theft. Remember that. But you still got to file your taxes. And tax season is here. It's right here around the corner. And the folks over at Diamond Dynasty Tax Group Legacy will do the very best they can to help you maximize your refund and minimize all the stress. They did my taxes for me last year. They were fantastic. Did a lot of really good stuff for me, helped me out to get a really nice chunk of my money back. All right. I said it the other day on the show. I'll say it again. Remember, folks, when you get a refund, It is not free money. It's not free. That's the money that the government took from you, invested, and it's only giving you back the principal without the interest. That's all it is. All right. So it's not free money. So if you get a nice refund, say you get a couple of grand back in your refund, don't go out and blow it on a big screen TV or something else. Invest it in something worthwhile. That is your money that you could have invested all year long, but the government stole it from you and used it to fund things that you didn't want. And now they're giving it back to you saying, hey, thanks for the loan. We're keeping the interest. You're not getting it. All right. So taxation's theft. Don't forget that. Remember, anything that they have to do at the point of a gun is not in your favor. Okay? Remember that. All right. Anyway, Diamond Dynasty Tax Group Legacy. I'm sure they appreciate me going on a rant like that, trying to plug them. But Diamond Dynasty Tax Group Legacy, give them a call. It's a local company here in Eagle Pass, 830-867-7106. It's 830-867-7106. Check them out. Did really good work for me last year, and they'll do it for you this year. So check them out. Also, don't forget, a lot of the tax laws are changing this year. You need somebody that's capable and understands the changes in the tax codes. Take care of you this year. Diamond Dynasty Tax Group Legacy. Check them out. Links will be in the show notes. All right. With that said, how about a shout outs to our executive producers, Wayne Rankin, Rosanna Rankin, Carolina Jimenez, Marissa Lee, and of course, Anonymous Angela. Thank you guys so much for all that you do with the show. I really, really do appreciate it. Folks, they donate their time, their talent, their treasure to help put this show together and get us out here doing all the stuff that we're doing. So I really appreciate them. Now, if you want to help out the show, if you want to find out more about how you can support the show, just go to our website, joerooz.com/support. You'll see all of that great information up there, all the different ways, the one-time donations, the recurring donations, the producer tiers, all that stuff is up there on the website. You can take a look at it. If you want to help us out with the donation and cryptocurrencies, you can do that too. Our crypto wallet information is up there as well. All right. I think I have nothing left for you tonight. Let me just make sure I got everything checked off my little list here. Yes, I do. We are good to go. So again, folks, thanks for taking the time to be with us tonight. Don't forget to head over to the website, joerooz.com. Send us over a message. Let us know what you're thinking. And we will see you here tomorrow night. Don't forget, make Texas independent again. Go podcasting. Keep a steady stride. And keep talking. Good night, folks, and God bless.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds if we're together?
Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather.